Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is Many a True Nerd, and this is my first little video on Fallout 4 at E3, and oh my goodness, it looks good. Oh, it looks good. Oh, it looks good, and it's like they've got a little mirror and a window and a periscope and whatever else that goes into my brain and sees the things that I want them to put in the game and put most of them in the game. Because, like, lots of things that I asked for in that 30 things video made it into the damn game, and the ones that, like, and the other things that I asked for, well, we don't know, we just haven't seen yet. Looks like all of them will be making it in too, because Bethesda apparently just makes games exclusively for me. And that's good, because my ideas are fantastic. So, anyway, but this isn't about that. This isn't about the entirety of the, presentation. I want to get to that tomorrow. I want to have a bit more time to kind of put that together and put together some really interesting, deep thoughts about what I think we can take out of the E3 presentation as a whole. I just wanted to make a quick video, actually, about mechanics, because I went through this a second time, went through this a couple of times today, and I noticed something that I kind of went through and spotted just a little pattern. And I think there's actually something that we can learn about what's going to be one of the core mechanics of Fallout 4 out of just some of the footage that flashed past us very, very quickly. So I just want to discuss that tonight. And I've looked this up, and a few other people seem to have speculated this as well, but so far it didn't seem to be hugely well circulated or well believed. So I hope this is news to some of you at least, which is I think they've taken skill points out of the game entirely. I honestly think that's what they've done. I mean, my suspicion was first aroused when they were going through the new special setup, and incidentally, I think they deliberately went through that very fast, so like people live wouldn't be able to read what the text was. But fortunately, I was able to get screen caps so I could see what all the text was. And when we start off looking at, say, the strength, that was where I kind of first thought something was a little bit odd. So what strength says is that strength affects how much you can carry and the damage of all melee attacks. It doesn't say it impacts your melee skill, it says it impacts the damage of all melee attacks. Well, alright, fine, that could easily just be like a bit of text they've put in for the sake of people who aren't familiar with the game. Fine, that could just be user-friendly. But the intelligence one is much more interesting. So that now affects the number of experience points earned, not the number of skill points you gain. You get more experience for doing things if you have higher intelligence. So they've completely changed how intelligence works and taken away the fact it used to be linked to skill points. Fine, again, could just be coincidence. You know what? They've changed other things too. They changed endurance and luck and agility, and I'll go into all of those in my videos tomorrow. So then I decided to go and have a closer look at the Pip-Boy that we saw kind of at various points during the trailer. So when the Pip-Boy was first turned on for a second, we got to see it on its neutral tab. We got to see it in stats. So in status there, you've got all your body parts and their health. You've got the damage that you're doing with your gun, and by the way, that's definitely the damage you're doing with your gun and not your gun skill, because I can show you that in a second. We'll go over to the inventory and you'll see that he's holding a gun that's doing damage 18, so that's that. There's hit points, there's your level, there's your action points. So where are your stats? They're not there. There's no way to there's no way to get to them there. So then we go over to the special tab. And the special tab, again, you've just got your hit points, your levels, your action points, and you've just got your specials. Again, no skill points. No skill points mentioned anywhere. I honestly can't even see where they'd be at that point. That's logic. That's where they used to live, inside the stats and inside the status. So then I thought I'd check the other places where you might get a glance of your stats, which is when we briefly went over the weapons menu. I thought, okay, I'll be able to check the guns requirement of the guns that are being held. And guns in this game do not appear to have any form of a skill requirement anymore. There's no skill requirement there. There's damage, there's the ammo that's used and what volume of it's left, fire rate, range, accuracy, weight, and value, but there's no skill requirement for this gun, which is really, really interesting. The closest thing I saw to a skill requirement, incidentally, was when they were showing off the weapon crafting, where it said that the requirement for a gun was, say, gun nut level, I think the highest I saw was gun nut level 4. And there was also, I think, another perk that was called Science, which had to be a certain perk in order to craft various energy weapons. But honestly, given that showing up during the crafting, I'm going to guess that that's your requirement for building the weapon, not for subsequently going on to use it. So given that none of the special stats seem to be linked to skill points, You don't seem to need skill points to use any of the guns, and I can't see where skill points are listed anywhere in the Pip-Boy stats menu. I've got to conclude skill points have come out of the game. And if they've done that, obviously that has consequences for like the way that we understand characters. Logically, what steps into their place is perks. Perks become a lot more important. I can pretty much guarantee, obviously, we're going back to the Fallout 3 system of perk every level, not Fallout New Vegas's every 2 levels. I think perks have become way more important, especially because perks, rather fascinatingly, are the only menu that break the fourth wall on the Pip-Boy permanently. So you'll notice that you've got the hovering perks menu permanently positioned over the Pip-Boy. Even if you do the thing where you move your hand away, so the Pip-Boy's further away, it still stays there, suggesting that like going to the perk menu is one of the single most common actions that you're going to want to do. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm fine with a massive, much more complicated perk tree. I mean, in many ways, the perks and the skill points in Fallout 3 were actually very close together anyway, because if you think about it, actually a large number of perks in Fallout 3, especially in the early to mid-game, were just perks that increased your skill points. So, you know, Thief, which increased your pickpocket and sneak skills by 5 each, or Daddy's Boy and Daddy's Girl for +5 to science and medicine. In many ways in Fallout 3, and I think this is in some ways going to be a little bit closer to Fallout 3 than Fallout New Vegas by the sounds of it, it does sound like they're going to move back to perks being so close to skill points that effectively the two have now just been rolled together. The question then kind of occurs to me, so if skill points no longer exist theoretically, then how is it determined which perks you can and cannot take, because perks are no longer gated behind skill requirements? And I guess that we're probably going to be seeing a big sequential branching perk tree. I'd guess kind of it's going to be something a bit more like Skyrim's was, except again completely stripping out all of these skill requirements. So we had the big discussion during my things I wanted to see in Fallout video, which incidentally, flipping hell, it's like they have a flipping mirror to my brain. They got so much of that right. Amazing. That I was kind of saying, hey, could we do this the Skyrim way versus the Fallout way? Well, actually, I think they are actually going to do it a bit more like the Skyrim way, which is skill points out completely, and perks in a big complicated tree where you have to sequentially go up the tree, and you can only unlock a perk further up once you've unlocked all the ones below it. No, I kind of like that, actually. In fact, I really like that, because I think it encourages specialization. Like, there were some really weird things that I didn't like in Fallout, in the earlier Fallout games. Like, for example, you could have never used a melee weapon in the entire game, but if you just dump your skill points into enough melee weapons, then you can just take the Slayer perk, because why not? You can have, like, the ultimate perk for using melee weapons, even if you've never swung one in your life. I like the idea that you have to kind of work your way up to the highest perks, and you can't just get them by just dumping skill points into something. I like that system. Skyrim didn't work either, because Skyrim, it was gating its perks behind uneven thresholds of skill checks. So some skills were ludicrously easy to get up, and some skills were ludicrously difficult to get up unless you basically abused them. So, like, I don't think that worked very well at all. So I'd kind of be glad if they threw all of that out and simplified it just down to there's a big branching skill tree, you work your way up it, and those perks are going to define literally everything. I wouldn't mind that at all. It also suggests if that's going to be the case, that potentially special is going to be a lot more important than it used to be. Because let's be honest, in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, with the exception of intelligence, which you should pretty much always have had at 9 and then got to 10 at the earliest possible opportunity in the game, all the other skills were not really that useful. Charisma was a bit of a dump stat, perception was a bit blur, agility didn't do very much. Strength, aside from carry weight, was pretty much pointless. Endurance was good for the hit points, and luck, I suppose, was pretty good for the critical hits. But it sounds like they've redone it so that the choices that you make in your special can actually make a much bigger difference to your character. So I like the idea if that's how they're going. If they're going towards characters that are going to logically go down more specialised routes, you're going to go into a character that's going to be more overwhelmingly melee focused, and you can't be quite such a generalist. I like that. It kind of feeds into the idea I was talking about in my 30 things video, which is I want my character to suck, but equally the kind of the flip side of that is I want my character, if he wants to become good, to have to specialise in something and actually use it a lot. And I like that. I think that's where they're going with that. So I don't know if I'm just kind of making this up and I'm completely overthinking just a couple of things I've seen in the interface there, but that's my understanding of how I think it looks like the core mechanics of the shooting are actually going to go. So I apologise if this has already kind of done the rounds on the internet and been dismissed as a rumour and Bethesda have already shot it down. Sorry, I didn't catch this last night. I only caught this during the day and then I was at work during the day today. So I haven't had time to kind of catch all the internet gossip. So I apologise if I'm behind the times, man. But this was just kind of my first take on... oh yeah, this is just my little first take on the mechanics that I'd seen. Tomorrow, hopefully, I will be able to put together a much more full video on kind of my thoughts and what I think we can take out of that entire presentation. But just as a sneak peek, it's good, isn't it? It is good, isn't it? It was a very good presentation. I was very happy with a lot of what they were saying. But yes, that will be very soon. In the meantime, I've been John, this has been Many a True Nerd, and this has just been my first little look at the mechanics of Fallout 4 on the basis of the E3 presentation. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Haha, I'm a genius at time. Oh, okay, this escalated quickly. I'd like to fly your drone. So good about a butterfly in a bucket. What does that tell you about the human condition? Are we the butterfly and is capitalism the bucket? What happens if you go right to the back in time? The very beginning of time. Oh, you literally just burn the universe.